About 515 million years ago, the ocean gained a terrifying new feature: animals that could clearly see one another. Eyes had existed in simpler forms, but some Cambrian arthropods now carried sophisticated image-forming compound eyes. They could detect movement, separate targets from the background, and concentrate attention ahead. Suddenly, hiding, hunting, and escaping became visual problems. Fossils from Australia, China, and Canada reveal how advanced this equipment became. They also raise a bigger question. Did the rise of vision help turn the Cambrian seas into evolution's first great arms race? The clearest clues come from places where delicate anatomy survived against extraordinary odds. South Australia's Emu Bay Shale formed in a nearshore marine setting and preserved soft structures that usually vanished, including mussels and non-mineralized eye lenses. Similar exceptional deposits elsewhere preserve complete arthropods and, in rare cases, nervous tissue. Without these sites, early vision might look crude or invisible in the fossil record. Instead, researchers can inspect individual lenses, map their arrangement, and estimate where an animal looked most sharply. The result is not a vague shadow of an eye. It is recognizable optical machinery. One set of isolated Emu Bay eyes, about 515 million years old, contains more than 3,000 small visual units called ommatidia. Each unit sampled part of the scene, and together they formed a compound image. The lenses were not spread evenly. A specialized bright zone had larger lenses aimed forward, providing better sensitivity and sharper vision where it mattered most. The exact owner of every isolated eye is not certain because some were found without bodies. Yet, their structure is clear. An early arthropod was already dividing its visual field into ordinary surveillance and a high-performance targeting zone. Then the lens count becomes almost ridiculous. Large paired eyes attributed to a radiodont from Emu Bay measure roughly 2 to 3 centimeters across. A single eye preserves at least about 16,000 tightly packed hexagonal lenses. That approaches the lens counts of exceptionally sharp-eyed modern insects, although lens number alone cannot reveal identical behavior or brain performance. This animal did not merely sense light. Its eyes could gather detailed information across the water. By this point, vision was not an evolutionary experiment sitting quietly on the seafloor. It had become serious equipment for locating moving targets. These eyes also rearrange the order in which major arthropod features may have appeared. Radiodonts belonged near the arthropod stem, outside the group containing familiar fully hardened arthropods. Their advanced compound eyes suggest sophisticated vision evolved before the complete armored exoskeleton seen in later forms. That conclusion depends on phylogenetic reconstruction from Apache record, but its implication is striking. Seeing may have become highly refined while the arthropod body plan was still being assembled. Evolution did not wait to finish the armor, joints, and shell before upgrading the sensors. The lookout system arrived remarkably early. An eye is useful only if the nervous system can process what reaches it. Fossils of the Chengjiang arthropod, Fuxian huia, appear to preserve a brain region connected to forward-facing eyes through nested optic neuropils. These are processing centers comparable in broad arrangement to visual pathways in living arthropods. Fossilized neural tissue is difficult to interpret, and scientists examine preservation carefully, but multiple specimens support the identification. The Cambrian record therefore preserves more than lenses. It preserves evidence for downstream hardware that sorted visual input. These animals were not simply collecting light. Their brains were doing something organized with it. Now the arms race comes into focus. Once a hunter could identify prey at a distance, every exposed body became easier to track. Better vision favored accurate approaches, rapid strikes, and attacks away from the bottom. Prey faced the reverse pressure. Notice danger sooner, move faster, become harder to grip, or make an attack costly. Cambrian fossils show defensive armor, projecting spines, and bodies capable of curling or shielding vulnerable parts. Predators carried grasping limbs and acute visual zones. No fossil records the moment one adaptation caused another, but their rapid coexistence reveals ecosystems becoming intensely interactive. Isoxis shows how far that change may have spread. This small bivalved arthropod had prominent eyes, a streamlined protective carapace, and grasping appendages. Its anatomy is consistent with visually guided predation in open water, rather than a life restricted to crawling along the bottom. Behavior cannot be watched directly, so this remains a reconstruction from form and sedimentary setting. Even so, it points to a crucial expansion. Hunters were entering the water column, where there were fewer surfaces to hide against. Vision helped turn empty-looking space above the seabed into a layered hunting ground. Evidence of violence survives too. Some Emu Bay trilobites, including Redlichia, carry injuries consistent with attacks, while fossilized droppings indicate that large arthropods consumed hard-bodied prey. A particular wound cannot usually identify its attacker, and several predators shared these waters. Still, injury, digestion traces, weapons, and visual systems tell a coherent ecological story. Predation was active, and surviving an encounter mattered. Armor that blocked one strike could favor a stronger grip. Faster prey could reward sharper tracking. Evolution did not plan this escalation, but repeated differences in survival could ratchet performance upward generation after generation. But calling vision the single switch that caused the Cambrian explosion goes too far. The light switch theory proposes that powerful sight was the main trigger behind the burst of animal innovation. It is a bold and useful idea because vision clearly changed ecological possibilities. Most researchers, however, treat it as one major driver among several. Environmental change, oxygen availability, developmental toolkits, and expanding food webs also mattered. Vision did not create complex animals from nothing. Its likely role was more mischievous. It intensified interactions among bodies that were already diversifying and made every useful advantage more visible to natural selection. Trilobites developed their own extraordinary answer to the visual challenge. Their compound eye lenses were made from calcite, a mineral rarely used this way by animals. Calcite fossilizes well, which is why trilobite eyes provide such a detailed record of ancient sight. Different groups evolved different arrangements. The common holochrole design packed many small lenses beneath a shared surface. Schizochrole eyes used fewer, larger lenses, each separated from its neighbors. In some forms, each lens contained a calcite doublet that reduced optical distortion. These were not decorative bumps. They were precisely structured windows built into armor. The variety matters because there was no single Cambrian eye solving every problem. Fossil radiodonts showed different eye shapes, lens sizes, growth patterns, and fields of view. Some possessed acute zones suited to forward targeting. Other arrangements may have favored broad motion detection or sensitivity under dimmer conditions. Functional details are inferred through comparative optics, not observed behavior, but the diversity is unmistakable. Once image-forming vision existed, natural selection could tune it for different habitats and tasks. The first visual revolution was therefore not one invention copied repeatedly. It quickly became a branching collection of specialized systems. Vision also changed the meaning of appearance. A spine was no longer only something a predator felt after contact. It could advertise difficulty before the strike. A large silhouette could be detected farther away. Movement might expose prey, while stillness and background matching could reduce detection. Direct evidence for the exact colors of most Cambrian animals is limited, so elaborate camouflage claims would outrun the fossils. Yet, the basic physics is unavoidable. Image-forming eyes created selection on outlines, orientation, movement, and where defenses were placed. Once animals watched one another, the visible body itself became part of survival. Could complex eyes have appeared quickly enough to influence this evolutionary burst? Eyes vary through many workable stages, from light-sensitive cells to directional cups, simple lenses, and compound arrays. Each stage can provide an advantage without waiting for a perfect final design. The fossils show that by roughly 515 million years ago, some compound eyes were already highly sophisticated. They do not reveal the exact speed of every earlier step, and the first eye must predate the oldest exceptional specimen preserving it. What they establish is a deadline. Advanced visual ecology was operating remarkably early in complex animal history. The deepest change was not simply that one Cambrian hunter gained a better view. Vision created a new relationship between every watcher and everything being watched. Hunters could choose targets before touching them. Prey could react before an attack arrived. Open water became contested habitat. Armor became visible information, and brains gained streams of spatial data to process. Vision probably did not cause the Cambrian explosion by itself, but it helped accelerate the feedback between attack and defense. The ocean had acquired distance, direction, and anticipation. If you entered those seas, would you rather have better eyes or better armor?